You can buy ready-made dowel at most hardware stores, Rockler, Woodcraft, the big box stores. But you're going to be somewhat limited in the sizes that are available and in particular the species that are available. I mean, typically you'll find a wider wood, maple, birch, things like that, and you might be able to find oak or walnut. But let's say you wanted a 5/16 dowel out of white oak or a 1/4 inch dowel out of rosewood or purple heart or something. You're going to be stuck. You're going to have to make it yourself. There's a couple ways to do that on the router. One way, which I'm not going to demonstrate, is by milling material square. So this is a 3/8 white oak dowel. The way this was made is I cut this to 3/8 square, as accurate as I could, and I used calipers to measure it. And if you're good on the table saw, you should be able to cut that pretty accurately. You want to be within a few thousandths, or even, if anything, a little touch big, but just barely big. And then if you set up a 1/4 round bit that's half of the diameter. So if I want a 3/8 dowel, I would set a 3/16 radius bit and route this 4 times. You can still see the end of it square because that was my reference, but I routed up to this point, and I got, once you round the 4 square corners, you get a dowel. And this works pretty darn good. It's pretty round, assuming you got a good bit and you machined it carefully to start. So that's one way to do it. This is another way I'm going to show you. This you can do to get sizes that you cannot get using the 1/4 round method, because you have to have the right radius bit. If I wanted a 5/16 diameter, I'd need a 5/32 1/4 round bit, which might be difficult to find. I'm not even sure if anybody makes that. This method uses a totally different process. So what happens here is I've got a bit in here. So this is a cove bit. I'm going to rotate this material over this bit while the bit's spinning. And if I can control this accurately, I should be able to get the right diameter. So the way I'm going to do that, I've got a series of holes here, and I have a spreadsheet set up such that for a given output, so in this case I'm going to make a 5/16 diameter dowel, so that's a 5/16 hole. I need to run this in here so that that is controlled by that hole. So I specifically chose that hole, and you can see how you did that on that spreadsheet. So that's the correct hole to give me a control of this square part, and I've got written on here the size of this square that fits in that hole, and I should be able to run that then over the bit. So this is going to sit over the bit like that, and when it comes out the other side, it's controlled by the 5/16 hole, which is the size of the dowel that I want. So let's go ahead and set this up. Okay, so the way this works, I need to put this over here. Now this particular bit is 3/4 diameter. These holes are all 7/8, so that works with a 3/4 inch diameter bit. And I need to hold this onto here. A couple different ways to do this depending on the circumstances. So in this particular case, I can do that. And note that on this router plate, there's a couple of holes here, 1/4 inch holes. So what I'm going to do, one of these other holes here lines up with that hole. I'm going to put this like that, and I'm going to thread that 1/4 20 bolt down in that hole, and then tighten this up. Okay, so this is now held nice and tight on the router table. Now, if I didn't have those, I could attach this to a longer piece and then maybe clamp it on the edge of the table. So you need some way to hold this down. This works out well. So now what I need to do is run this through here while it's spinning, and I want to raise the bit. Now I need to kind of cover up my adjuster there, so let me just See if I can turn this a little bit, just enough to get to that hole. Okay, so I can access the adjuster there now. So I'm going to bring it up so it's at least just touching the bottom of my material there. Now, the other thing I need to do, remember, I need to spin this, so I need to round this end a little bit so I can grab it with a drill. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to spin that on the disc sander. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then we'll get started. Okay, I've changed the angle so you can see better. You can see the bit there. There's my input hole. Here's my output hole. So I have, just on the disc sander, I've sanded a round on the end there. And then on the other end, I've just created a chamfer just so that as this comes through, it can easier get in this 5/16 hole on the back side there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to chuck this, I'll chuck this in the drill. Okay, so that's going to run like that as I'm going in. And as that's spinning, I'm going to very gradually raise the bit until this goes through the hole. Now, if you get it too tight in the hole, it ends up burnishing this, and it gets pretty smooth. You might want that, but I'm gonna it's real sensitive, so I'm gonna try and get that just to the right height where it's just guided coming out there, and we should be in good shape here. So let's see how this works. All right, there's my 5/16 dowel. That works pretty well. And I'll get my calipers here. So let's measure this and see how close we are to 5/16. All right, so 5/16 would be 0.3125. I'm at 305, so I'm about 7 thousandths under. So I might have gone a touch small, but that's pretty darn good. Okay, I had to run one more since I was set up there. I bumped up the size just a touch. Okay, now I'm at 0.313, 311, 312. Okay, so that's within a few thousandths of 5/16. So that shows you what this can do when it's really dialed in. So you might want to have a test piece when you do this, particularly with a nice piece of wood. So there you go. Any species, pretty much any diameter you want, as long as you have the drill bit for it, you're good to go.